Hey guys, welcome to Monster Kid Studios and another episode of Monster Kid Memories. On this episode of Monster Kid Memories, we're going to be taking a look at the most controversial line of model kits ever produced, monster scenes. That's right, and I've got my reissue boxes right here in front of me to kind of inspire me here. We've got Frankenstein, Vampirella, The Victim, Dr. Deadly, here's the Pain Parlor, and Gruesome Goodies. I mean, we had all these things when we were kids, and I had all the sets, played with them, destroyed them. They got thrown away. Who knows what happened to them? But when they were reissued, I made sure I scarfed up all the new reissues, just like I'm sure a lot of you monster kids did. These things bring back such fond memories of playing with these guys and painting them and just using your imagination. And the fun part about these kits was they were interactive. You could change things around. They had extra arms and legs. You could play with them almost like action figures, and that's what made them so popular. Unfortunately, what also made them unpopular was how gruesome they were. And stuff like the hanging cage and the pendulum upset a lot of parents at the time. And they caused quite a stir, these monster kits. So let's take a look at the history of monster scenes. The onslaught known as shock theater was sweeping the nation during the 1960s, creating a generation of what were to become known as monster kids. Children across the land were being introduced to classic horror films and an array of classic monsters. Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, and others were wreaking havoc in the living rooms of families everywhere. The televised Universal classics were sending shivers down the spines of eager viewers, mostly kids, and they were loving every minute of it. With the rise in popularity of classic monsters, it wasn't long before toy manufacturers and other purveyors of products for children began to take full advantage of this new marketing opportunity. Without a doubt, the most popular products to hit the shelves of toy stores and hobby shops were the Aurora Monster Model Kits. Check out the Monster Kid Memories episode about the Aurora Monster Model Kits. I'll provide the link in the description below. With the model kits of the monsters flying off the shelves, Aurora experienced unprecedented success. When things started to lag by the late 60s, Aurora reintroduced the same model kits, only this time with glow-in-the-dark pieces. This move kept things booming until 1970 when sales finally began to slow. Aurora's next move was determined by the monster kids' desire for more playability in their model kits. The models were great, but once assembled and painted, they were only suited to sit on a shelf or a dresser and be admired. Market research discovered that kids wanted more than a static model display. They now desired movable figures and dioramas in order to recreate their favorite horror movies. Armed with this information, Aurora embarked on creating what will become one of the most controversial toy and model kit lines of all time, monster scenes. In 1971, Monster Scenes, a series of interactive monster models created for kids to assemble, pose, and play with, was unleashed on an unsuspecting public. But it soon became apparent that mismanagement and a poorly marketed message had doomed the Monster Scenes model kits to be considered a questionable concoction of plastic horrors that did little more than promote sex and sadism to America's youth. That perception motivated public protests and brought embarrassment upon Aurora's parent company, the wholesome Nabisco. But before Nabisco could cave to angry consumers, monster kids were able to purchase Monster Scene model kits and add them to their monster collections. Aurora's first series of Monster Scenes kits to hit store shelves in 1971 were emblazoned with the bold statement, "Mix 'em, match 'em, rated X for excitement." No one's certain whether it was Aurora's marketing department or their ad agency responsible for creating the slogan. Either way, it was the first misstep of many when it came to promoting the product. Kids were introduced to the evil Dr. Deadly, Frankenstein, the unfortunately named Victim, the oh-so-sexy Vampirella, and two amazing playsets designed to maximize playability and provide an environment of endless possibilities, Gruesome Goodies and the Pain Parlor. complete with a glow-in-the-dark skeleton. These sets had everything kids wanted: characters with interchangeable arms and legs, and dioramas created specifically to provide a home for all of the horrible characters that were to come. These sets were quickly followed by the hanging cage and the pendulum, a play set that received more than its fair share of criticism and ire. Even mired in controversy and public outrage, the kits were selling briskly, and Aurora was busy making plans for future sets. On the drawing board were kits for Dracula, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a giant insect, and more dioramas intended to fit together with those previously released, creating a complete dungeon environment. Sadly, these kits would never see the light of day in the US, after Nabisco ordered production stopped on Monster Scenes, and the molds and remaining kits were shipped off to Canada. The controversial products, including planned editions, were sold in the Great White North only until the inventory was gone. One can only imagine how far the line could have gone, if not for the angry response it received from parents across the country. Aurora had hired famed comic book artist Neil Adams, who illustrated the original comic book included with each Monster Scenes kit, to design concepts for future Monster Scenes. Adams illustrated mock-ups for a hero figure, someone to save the doomed victim, and thanks to an arrangement with DC Comics, Aurora had Adams draw plans for Man-Bat and Lois Lane kits. They were even considering an 18-inch King Kong model kit. The goal was to reimagine the existing kits to eliminate as much of the objectionable bits as possible while creating new versions that would not encourage any further outrage. Which makes it curious that Aurora's planned model for Lois Lane was to come dressed in an undergarments and with a removable negligee. It's hard to imagine what they were thinking at the time. By 1972, Aurora, due to pressure from Nabisco, had canceled production of Monster Scenes, much to the chagrin of monster kids everywhere. The Monster Kids Scenes debacle didn't end Aurora's attempts to keep monsters on store shelves, though. Soon they released another line of model kits to sate the appetite of monster fans. It was called Monsters of the Movies. The new line included a new Frankenstein sculpt, the unused Dracula design originally intended for Monster Scenes, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and others. But Aurora's monster run had come to a close for all intents and purposes, and Rated X for Excitement kits like Monster Scenes would not be seen again. That is until 2008, when Mobius Model Company announced the return of Monster Scenes. The initial re-release included Dr. Deadly, the Victim, Frankenstein, the Hanging Cage, the Pendulum, and the Giant Insect. Mobius went on to produce yet-to-be-seen kits such as Saber-Toothed Rabbit, Feral Cat, and Skeleton. The last new kits produced for Monster Scenes were the Animal Pit and the Dungeon, old molds never used for Dracula and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were finally put to use and were produced in a single kit featuring both monsters. The reintroduction of the Monster Scenes line was a godsend for lifelong fans who longed to relive their fond childhood memories. Sadly, the line stalled, and once again, Monster Scenes disappeared from store shelves. Will there ever be another Monster Scenes resurgence? One can never tell. If not, Monster Scenes collectors will have to make do with what's been produced thus far. Without question, Monster Scenes will always live on as one of our fondest Monster Kid memories. Hey, thanks for joining me for this episode of Monster Kid Memories. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment. Make sure you visit us on MonsterKidStudios.com, where we have movie updates, Monster Kid Theater episodes, and original merchandise. We're printing our own t-shirts now with original designs, limited editions. You're going to want to check those out. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, this is Rich Savage. Thanks for sharing these memories with me.